Hello and welcome back to the W Basketball Show. I'm your host Lucas. On this episode, we're going to be doing a rookie report for the WNBA, and I'm just going to get straight into it. And I'm going to start with JC Sheldon, as Australian basketball fans and WNBL fans alike have a lot to look forward to with her. She's coming to play for the Townsville Fire in the upcoming WNBL season. And yeah, she's had a pretty she's had to be called upon in different times of the season with the Dallas Wings, and she's had a pretty interesting season as it comes to opportunity. But it should be interesting to see how she takes what she's done in the first season of her WNBA career and how she uses it with the Townsville Fire. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see if she focuses her season on improving certain parts of her game, or if it's about reps and the responsibility of winning, like Townsville have upheld for forever, really. But yeah, so watched her play yesterday. She got the start against the Las Vegas Aces, which is a huge task. She was running point in an offense that had Arike Agumbawale, Satu Sabali, Natasha Howard, and Tierra McCowan, which is like just such a there's so much responsibility there, and those four players would thrive with a really experienced point guard, and you'd need to have a good head on your shoulders if you're in charge of the offense that is trying to get those four other players touches. Even if that doesn't have to mean ending the play with an assist. That means just getting the offense going and humming. Satu Sabali, 5th in the WNBA MVP voting last season. Natasha Howard I think she's a full-time 4 now, over the past few seasons, but used to be a 5. Used to be one of the best big scorers in the league. Still is extremely efficient, has had 2 30-point games this season. Arike Agumbawale is just a microwave, she's going to get 22 shots a game. She's going to demand the ball. And those players need someone to set them up. And Tierra McCowan, there'd be easier bigs to play with, and she definitely demands a lot of the ball, for good reasons, and sometimes it feels like for bad reasons. But it's a huge task running an offense that has these four players as the other four players you're sharing the court with. But she looks so comfortable doing it. The team clearly trusts her, including Latricia Trammell, the head coach. She's shooting 41, 38, 83 splits, which you hope and presume would only get better. 2.2 assists, 1.3 turnovers is not the best, but her role in the offense isn't to, as I said before, finish the play. It's to get it going. It's to start the cogs moving, and she's passing and she's screening away. She's doing the dirty stuff on offense, and making the team plays on offense. And I think she's just getting incredible experience with the rest of the roster. Who this roster has to boast. And yeah, in the game against the Aces, they won. And she had to guard Chelsea Gray. She was getting guarded by Jackie Young. Not the easiest task, especially not the easiest task in a win. To be able to, I wouldn't say she won either of those matchups on either end, but she held her own enough for her team to win the point guard minute. To win overall, while she was her impact on the game was felt. It wasn't so much she was winning the matchup, but she was holding her own enough. On the defensive end, with the head coach like Latricia Trammell, she's going to teach her the right foundational steps and what's needed next. And she is a great competitor on the defensive end. Definitely making things hard on her opponent, but doesn't really dictate what they do or make too many plays. But fights over screens, makes it annoying. I saw Chelsea Gray miss a mid-range pull-up attempt, which I didn't think was possible. And although JC Sheldon didn't make it overly hard on her, you got to give credit where credit's due. I truly have only maybe ever seen that happen 5 times, and that was 20% of them. I still feel like Sheldon's a speed below the competition, which is to be expected of a rookie, and that'll come with experience and reading her opponents, and another preseason and a bit more agility, and yeah, another season or another few seasons of training as a professional athlete. I feel like she attacks the rim without any plan from time to time. I think that's quite common among young players, young guards. But I feel like when Sheldon does it, she doesn't have any real threat that she can like fall back on, and she doesn't really go into the key with any idea of finishing the play. Like take a take a Gumbawale for instance. If she goes into the key and picks up her dribble, that's like she might just turn around and shoot a fadeaway, and that's part of her game. Van der Sloot, I can imagine her doing the same thing, and I'm talking about really experienced point guards, but I think that's the difference there is, this is the start of that career in JC Sheldon, and that's the place she needs to get to. And just keep her dribble instead of dribbling into the key and picking it up. She gets to such a threatening spot on the court and then completely nullifies the threat, her own threat by herself. So yeah, got to make the D work for that as well. Obviously there's still things to work on for Sheldon, but I feel like she has a great base for a starting point guard for the next decade to come. I could never really see her being an all-star, but I could imagine her being a headache to match up against every night. Maybe like her ceiling would be like that sub all-star level, who I can't think of anyone right now off the top of my head, but just a pain to come up against. Makes things hard on her opponent, runs her offense well, and kind of flies under the radar. But yeah, I think she's had a good first 3 quarters of the season, and there's a great foundation there to build upon. So now that the WNBL representation has been talked about, I think this is the main thing I've wanted to talk about with the rookie class of this year and how many eyeballs have been on it, namely Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Caitlin Clark is currently on $76,535, and my friends over at Fox Sports have informed me that that's 112,797 Australian dollars. Angel Reese is on $73,439, and in that same phone call I found out that's 108,220 AUD. Now, around that 110,000 AUD mark for both of these players, I know people who earn more money than either of them at their job, and the people that I know just have to focus on their job, their workplace, their co-workers, and their clients. And I see these people and the way they go about their lives and their work and the way it impacts their life, and I feel as though they are earning every last dollar that they're paid. And I say that, and they don't have the responsibility of being the face of a global sporting league. They aren't credited or burdened with driving viewership and interest for women's basketball, which is just, how can you put a number on what that responsibility must feel like? Clark and Reese are balancing all of this and are playing a large part in securing a great CBA whenever it's next negotiated. They aren't just doing it with their play on the court, but with how they are as role models. And I'm saying all this to say, they're doing a great job. They're doing an incredible job in all of those areas, and they're on roughly 110,000 Aussie dollars. So everyone needs to shut the fuck up and let them find their feet a little bit more before we demand that they solve global social issues. We've thrust them into this position, and as good as it is, it's equally as bad. I don't know what the dollar value would be to expect them to go above and beyond in this regard. I just know it's well beyond 100k. So shut the fuck up. They're both doing fine. In fact, they're both excelling. If it felt as though I was reading that last little bit, it's because I wanted to get those words right. But that's truly how it feels. It's like their job. You can bring up their endorsements if you want. I think that's just a mute point, because that's an endorsement deal they've secured from their personal branding. That's not the task that's required from them from the WNBA, and that's not the responsibilities that are involved in that. They've both been professional basketball players for 3 months? 3 or 4 months. So, and this is unprecedented what they're doing in terms of driving viewership numbers and immediately being faces of a league where the landscape is changing and they're the two talking heads. So I think everyone needs to not everyone. I think there's a lot of media needs to take a step back when it comes to these two. Now that that's out of the way, the bloody basketball side of things, Angel Reese and let's go with teammate Camila Cardoso as well. I think they're such an interesting duo because they both excel on one end of the court, and I think they're both like close to useless on the other end of the court. Reese, breaking WNBA records as a rookie, like not just breaking rookie records, but like breaking WNBA records. She had I think first player to ever record back 3 20 rebound games in a row. Don't quote me on that, but it was something along the lines of that. She might already be the best rebounder in the league. Let's give her a little bit more time. Let's let that variability kind of play out, because this could just be a hot streak. But I feel like her rebounding has gotten better as the season has gone on. She's gotten much more agile. I think that's the biggest thing she's added to her game this season is, coming up a lot higher on pick and rolls, being able to move with multiple defenders, being able to guard. I don't want to say point guards just yet, but not every point guard, but a lot of point guards. So let's say she can guard four and a half positions, being the 2 through 5, and then half of the ones in the league. As the season's progressed, she's also worked on her ability to rebound and run, which unlocks a lot for the Chicago Sky's offense, and it lets them get into an action with 19 seconds on the shot clock, rather than her rebounding, turning, finding an outlet, then her getting up the court and she's behind the playmaker, and maybe they get into a play with 16 seconds, and that extra 3 seconds is probably 3 good looks, you guys know. And then on the other end is Camila Cardoso as the offensive weapon. She's just she's such a handful. Uses every last inch of her 6'7" frame. Catches the ball high, keeps it where no one else can get it. Converts pretty efficiently. Every single time I turn on a Sky game, Cardoso first wins the tip off, then rim runs, and one of the wings will hit her as she's cutting towards the rim, and she just lays in the first basket of the game, usually within 5 seconds. And that is that's so irreplicable. And I feel like, for the next 15 years, WNBA fans will get sick of watching that, especially fans that don't support whoever she plays for. But yeah, it's like, it sets the tone immediately. It lands the first punch and it gets the first win of the game. And it takes the lid off the ring. And I think that there's just there's a game long effect that first basket has. And, as the opposing team, you hate when you allow the other team to set the tone exactly how they want from the very beginning of the game. And Chicago does that behind Camila Cardoso every single night. And for super bigs, she's just an elite passer. Let's say players 6'6" and above, and I really hope I'm not missing anyone here, but players 6'6" and above, I would say she's already the best passer in the league. But on the other end of the court, she can't really do anything outside of the restricted area. She uses her size really well, and she's definitely a deterrent at the rim. But she's a turnstile kinda on the perimeter or anywhere outside of the ring. I think Teresa Witherspoon, I think she's a really good coach, and she definitely keeps Cardoso as close to the rim as possible. And so she doesn't really let those weaknesses come out, and Cardoso does a really good job of playing to the game plan. But that's those the deeper you go into the playoffs, and the better opponents you come up against, they're gonna find those cracks and they're gonna find a way to break your D. So you are on the perimeter, and then I think she'll get. I can't imagine her. I can imagine her defending Chelsea Gray and it looking pretty good for the Aces. And on the offensive end for Reese, through 30-ish games, I don't know if she has a single asset to contribute to the team. I don't really know if it's something that she's working on or if the team's working on. But yeah, there's no suggestion of like a long-term vision for her as a play finisher, whether that's inside or out. Her jump shot is like busted, like it's so bad. And it doesn't really look like her or her team are trying to make it a part of her game. So anytime the play finishes with her shooting a jump shot, it's a win for the other team. As I've written down here, as is her ability to put the ball in the basket won't scale up to anything. I can't even see her becoming a below average offensive producer. Now, we haven't, we've only seen 30 games, but there doesn't really seem to be a plan for her to be a threat. And I think it completely contrasts Rickea Jackson from the Los Angeles Sparks. The Sparks came up against the Liberty today, and the team, Kurt Miller is an incredible coach, but the team really works for her, and she works for the team. They've used her in every single position. You can see even on the misses what they're trying to build towards. Today she had a really great game. She had 13 points in the first quarter, and one play stuck out, which was she was on the right wing. She passed the ball inside to Dearica Hamby. Her defender, who was, I think, Benai Jelani, turned her back on Jackson. Jackson then fled to the top of the key, and Hamby passed it out to Jackson as Brianna Stewart was trying to close out to her, and Kia Nurse just came and gave like the slightest little hip and shoulder, completely illegal screen. But the team was really working for Jackson, and she took a top of the key three, and she made it. But in that situation, make or miss, I think it shows that there's a clear plan that they want to turn, or not even turn. They want Rickea Jackson to start being a 3-level scorer from now, and they'll focus on efficiency down the road. But just get her shot profile to be everywhere on the court. They use her in the mid post. They want her to pull up over a smaller defender in the mid-range. They wanted to take a smaller defender closer to the basket. They wanted to take a bigger defender off the dribble. They wanted shooting jump shots. They wanted to get to the line. They wanted to ISO a little bit. And there's a clear plan there. And I think Kurt Miller and bigs and vets like Azare Stevens and Dearica Hamby are just like perfect for that scenario. And then Kia Nurse is just the ultimate like tweener. I guess she's kind of playing full-time 2-3, but she's just a savvy vet, and she'll be the player to do those like small little illegal screens that help out her rookie. But yeah. So that was just one example of how the team is working on her game, and that team really just is working for each other like non-stop. They got such a I think it starts with Miller as well, but they've got such an incredible. They got great cohesion, and they all work for each other. This far through her career, she's shooting 47, 36, 77 splits. And I just feel like they're going to be incredible in a few years' time. Like, I would expect that first column, the FG percentage, to be 52, 50, 56, like 52 to 56 range. I think that 3-point percentage can be 40. But like, on lowish volume, and that 77 for the free throws is, you probably want it to be 80, 85, just as long as it's above 80, I think. But yeah, I feel like those numbers are only going to grow. Like, I feel like there's been a lot of variance to her shooting efficiency in the early season, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes over a few years into her career. But yeah, I think as is, she already is a 3-level scorer. and she just needs to add fluidity, nuance, and experience to her game. I don't think she'll ever be to the level of an MVP, but I think she'll be like an extremely deadly second option on a WNBA championship. Yeah, I think, which is like, incredible. Like I can fully imagine her fitting as well with different types of superstars. Like I can imagine her fitting next to Asia. Everyone could probably fit next to Asia, but she can open up the court for Asia a little bit more as well. And then I could imagine her fitting next to Sabrina Ionescu. Again, a lot of people can fit, but the diversity to her game would allow her to be the second fiddle to like heaps of different types of superstars, which isn't always the case. Who knows? Maybe it's her teammate Cameron Brink. Brink hasn't played in about 2.5 months, but yeah, from what we saw, she's looking like a unicorn that has already started refining the prototype that she is, and she's just immediately one of the league's best defenders.
The NBA moves so quickly these days, it's hard to keep up. Shams and Woj are breaking stories left and right, but the Quick Time Out is right there with them to keep you informed on the latest NBA news. Stop in and let us break it down as it happens. Find the Quick Time Out on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
Caitlin Clark, the basketball player, I don't really know. There's just so much that's out there on Clark already. I'm not too sure what my value add is here. I guess 3/4 of the way through the season, we're 3/4 of the way through the WNBA season. She could be inactive for the rest of the season, and she should still be the unanimous Rookie of the Year. I don't know. There's not enough time for anyone else to catch up to her. Even with whatever foundation any of the other rookies I've mentioned have built, there's just not enough time. Like I don't think it mathematically makes sense. Like I think everyone else is out of contention now. I've written down here, I actually think it'll be cringe if it isn't unanimous, and I fully stand by that. I can't imagine, take all of the basketball fans in the world, even that fucking idiot that voted for Sabonis for MVP or whatever it was, by any metric, and whatever you value, if you value D, if you value rebounding, whatever, if you value scoring, she's just, when you put it all together, she is by every criteria has to be the person passing with the highest mark. She has to be an A+, no matter what rubric you're using. She has to be your number one vote. It is like, it would be embarrassing if she wasn't your number one vote. She's got the biggest responsibility in being the face of the league as a rookie, and she has the biggest responsibility on her team as a basketball player. She's producing extremely well. She had early season jitters, which anyone would with, unprecedented eyes on her. Who could she go to for advice? No one's ever done what she's been doing. She's been producing well and at a super respectable efficiency. I feel like she'll get more efficient as her career goes on. I think that's something that can be said for all of these rookies. Just today she cut an 11-game losing streak for the Indiana Fever against the Connecticut Sun. Connecticut were winning the season series 3-0, and I think the Fever more generally, it was nice to see them. It was nice to see them not let them get what's the word? I feel like an ex-NBA player would say they didn't let them get punked. So I'm going to go with that. Shout out. I feel like I've heard Shaq say that. Me and Shaq go way back. It's just like, I don't know who drives that for the Indiana Fever. I actually really don't know who drives that for the Indiana Fever. I feel like if I had to pick anyone, it'd be Kelsey Mitchell. And then if I had to pick anyone behind her, it'd probably be Temi Fagbenley. And then maybe Lexi Hull. She's got a bit of an asshole about her. And she really takes the game to the other players. And I think they're really good complementary pieces to a player like Caitlin Clark, who seems to be pretty, level-headed, gets angry from time to time, but she seems quite unfazed by a lot of stuff, and no one ever really rattles her, and she stays quite measured. I'd say the only drawback on her game for me is that there are still like heaps of possessions, like multiple times a quarter, where she wastes a lot of the shot clock and doesn't create any sort of threat for her team, which you can't do as a point guard. Like, I feel as though JC Sheldon wouldn't be making these mistakes. But yeah, just so many times she'll be one-on-one with whoever's guarding her, they'll be bumping into each other, and she'll be complaining to the refs that like nothing's being called, and nothing gets called. She's not going to get those calls. It's clear that she's not going to get those calls, and there's 12 or 14 seconds on the shot clock, and this might happen 10 to 12 times a game. And that's if you turn those 10 to 12 possessions into possessions where, if you're getting picked up full court, maybe you dish it off early and your team gets into a play with 20 or 19 seconds, because it's not 12 or 14 seconds and the team starts getting into the play. It's 12 or 14 seconds, and then the team needs to sort themselves out and then get into the play. And by then, when you got 9 seconds on the shot clock, that's no way to be create a threat. Versus like 19 seconds where you can get the play started then. And yeah, so that ends up being like 10 to 12 possessions per game. 25% of the Fever's losses this season have been within 5 points. So who knows what the outcome of those games would be if those 10 to 12 possessions were good ones. And it feels like it's a night in, night out thing where those things happen. But yeah, like let's say they win all of those games. They're like comfortably above 500 and like knocking on the door for first round. For home court in the first round of the playoffs. And that's speaking in a perfect world. But I think that this team is already like very close to being great. I think they're probably still, is it 1 or 2 seasons? I don't know what I believe in here, but I'd say they're like, they're kind of reminding me of the Minnesota Lynx from last year, just in terms of how their success has gone throughout the season. I think it was 0-5 start for the Fever. It was 0-6 for the Lynx last year, but the Fever don't have a player that's as good as Nafisa Collier was last year, or has progressed to be as good as she is this year. So I think they still need maybe I think, let's say 2 more seasons until they can be where the Lynx are now, which includes adding an incredible player. Like the Lynx added Alana Smith, and Courtney Williams and Natisha Heidemann have been extremely good this year as well. But that's a discussion for 1 or 2 years from now. Last 2 players I want to mention. I don't feel as though they are, there's not the same like rookie feel about these 2 players as there are about the other players I've spoken about in this episode. But Julie Van Loo and Leonie Fiebig, it's fun to see international players get their run, and there's so much talk about how the international basketball landscape is getting stronger and stronger, and Van Loo and Fiebig are just 2 more examples. I mean, Van Loo's in her 30s, I want to say 31. There's no possible way I could look that up. But yeah, it's cool. Van Loo's been asked to come in and just be herself. Fiebig's come in and played a crucial role on what looks like, or who is the title favorite New York Liberty. I don't know if anyone else could play her role. She gets asked to start in the absence of one of their starting guards, whether it be Vandersloot or Ionescu. And I think both of these players are a great illustration of the types of basketballers the rest of the world has to offer. That is the rest, not including the United States. At the Eurobasket last year, they was just such a pleasure to watch. Fiebig didn't have the most efficient tournament, but watching Van Loo oh my god, dude. It looks ridiculous when she hits a 3 on TV. It's like the most demoralizing thing for the opposition when she hits it. When you're there in person and you see like the most measured, steady vet drop their head because Van Loo's just pulled some bullshit and just hit the most ridiculous 3. Like, it never has a chance of missing. Even her misses. Oh, that's so contradictory. Those 5 words in a row. But even her misses, the other team, you can feel them like pucker up and be like, oh god, it's going to happen again. This one skill that this one player has is more threatening than, 5 offensive possessions from us. So yeah, great. It's just an incredible WNBA season unfolding before our very own eyes, and it'll be exciting to watch these teams in the playoffs. Watch how these rookies go in the playoffs against playoff defenses, playoff schemes. It'll be fun to watch them play. And by the way the season's going, there should be a few of them there at the pointy end of the season. So yeah, that'll be something to keep your eyes on. But as for this episode, it's been a privilege, a pleasure talking to you guys. New setup. I'm at my new place and recording in my room, and I gotta be honest, the feng shui is just way off. So that is just a useless tidbit that probably everyone, if they didn't click off already, that made them click off, which brings me to my last point, which is goodbye.